Get started, but if you join us after, feel free to pop in and learn about applying to college. So thank you for joining today for Get Schooled After School. I'm Danielle Gunder. I'm a senior program manager at Get Schooled. And for those of you who don't know, Get Schooled is your all-free digital college and job advisor. We created this webinar series to help making applying to college and finding a job easier for all students. I'm super excited to kick off today's session, but first I want to remind all of you that you can type any questions that you have at any time in the Q&A box you should see on the bottom of your screen. We will either respond to you directly or we might bring your question up in the session. So please send them in. Feel free to ask us anything you can think of. I am going to get started with today's college application and admissions webinar by introducing our lovely guest speaker, Joselyn Barrios. She's an admission advisor at Loyola Marymount University, which most people will know as LMU. She is here to answer your questions about applying to college and help all of you reach your goals after graduation. Joselyn is a proud alumna of LMU, earning a BA in English in 2016 and a Master's in Higher Education Administration in 2020, which makes her a double lion. And she is also a first-generation college graduate, an LA native, and she is excited to introduce prospective students to LMU. She loves her university for its strong mission, commitment to diversity, and tight-knit community. When she's not working with students, she enjoys being at the beach, practicing yoga, and spending time with her friends, family, and her dog, Rocco. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Joselyn. Yay, hello. We're gonna just jump into it here because I know that college applications is such a big topic, and I can imagine there are a lot of questions floating around in your heads. So Joselyn, the first question we have actually came from a student in a previous session, and they asked, do you have any special tips for students when they're building their college list? Specifically, how many schools should a student apply to?
So hi, everyone. That's a really great question. I think it really is personal to every student. And I think you'll find that most of these answers are. So what your friend is doing doesn't necessarily have to be what you're doing. It really is a really personal choice. So I would start off with a large list, which is really, I think of it like an upside down pyramid, like an ice cream cone. So start really big and then narrow down to what it is that you're applying to. So think of the size of the school, the location that you want to be in, academic programs that all of these schools have, go to the information sessions that they're offering so that you can speak with the current students at that school. All of these are online right now, so you have a really great option to go to schools that are further away that you may have not been able to travel to when you were traveling in person, and definitely reach out to all of these schools for fee waivers. I know that those can be cost prohibitive sometimes. There may be application fees, and don't ever let that discourage you. Most of these institutions have fee waivers, and all you have to do is ask, and you can get one so that you can submit your application for free. So don't ever limit yourself. I don't think that there's a magic number of how many schools you should apply to. I think that the key really is to think about it for yourself. That's the first part, and then to not limit yourself. So if you want to really apply to a school, but you think that the application fee is too much, reach out to the admission counselor there. It really is their pleasure to speak with you and to guide you through this process.
I think that is such a great answer. When I think about applying to college, I try to remind every student that an application is not a commitment and it doesn't hurt to ask. So apply to as many as you think is reasonable for you and your goals, and then you have more to choose from comes beautiful match day. There was a question on, is there a reason a student shouldn't apply to a school?
I think one of the only reasons I wouldn't apply to a school is if they don't offer a program that you're interested in and you know that's exactly what you want to do, or that's like the realm that you want to be in, the field that you'd like to be in. I think it's also important to consider Things that you may not think about necessarily, like weather. So maybe if you are not going to be comfortable being in the snow, think about that. Maybe take a test run for all of that. I know I have a student that I work with who was going to a school in the snow, and it was March and it was snowing, and she was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much. And she ended up transferring to LMU. So we are very lucky in LA that we don't get snow. And it's pretty much sunny year round. But think of things like that. I think like you mentioned, an application isn't a commitment. So you can apply to as many schools as you want. If they accept you, then that's great. If they don't, then you can just mark them off of your list and you don't have to attend there. But having more options is always better, so that when it comes time for making a decision, you have lots of places to choose from that you can really discuss with your family, discuss with your friends. And really it comes down to you and making that choice, but it's always better to have more options than not.
I love that. Love that advice. So I know right now we are in the thick of college application season. Some of you may have seen that there's some dates even above Jocelyn's head. So when should a student apply to college?
Yeah, so students apply to college directly from high school during their senior year. And you can start working on things like your personal statement and getting all of the references ready and doing all of that the summer before your senior year. So that's a great time. But actually submitting your applications happens during your senior year. We have early decision, early action deadlines, like you're seeing up here. And then those will vary from school to school. We have regular decision deadlines that usually happen a little bit later in the year. And I think we'll discuss a little bit more about what that entails: early action, early decision, regular decision. But it really all happens your senior year. You're definitely going to be preparing for this all throughout your high school career and earning those grades and really reflecting who you are as a student. But the actual applications themselves, you'll put those together during your senior year.
So we can just jump ahead to that question since we've brought up early action, early decision. Can you explain to the students on our call what is early decision and early action, and why would it be beneficial for a student to apply this way?
Yeah, so I think this is a really great question. Like I mentioned, I'm a first generation college student, and I had no idea that early action, early decision was a thing when I was applying to school. So I only applied regular decision. And while that is totally fine, I still ended up where I wanted to be. It's just a really great option. So when you apply early action or early decision, there's two distinctions. So early decision is a binding contract. So that means that it is your first choice for college. And if you are accepted to this school, barring financial needs, so if you can't afford this place, you're not going to be forced to go to that school. But if everything else works out, that's where you'll be attending next year. Early action just means that you're submitting your information in to the school earlier, and you'll be hearing back from that school earlier as well. So for example, at LMU, if you apply early action or early decision, you'll be hearing back from us sometime around early December. So definitely before that winter holiday break. So that's a really quick turnaround. So if you apply by November 1st, you'll be hearing back from LMU within like a month. And that way, when it comes to making decisions, again, you have more time to make that decision. You can review your financial aid information with a little bit more time, and you just have more options. I think early action, early decision is beneficial for students who feel really confident in their grades from 9th through 11th grade, because that's usually all that we have to evaluate. We know that if you're applying by November 1st, your first semester grades are probably not finalized. We'll maybe see a midterm report and we can evaluate based off of that. But the bulk of the evaluation really is from that 9th, 10th, and 11th grade grades. So if you feel really confident about those, definitely that's a great option. But if you've had an upward trajectory where you've improved every single semester and you want to show us that you've continued to improve during your senior year, it may be beneficial to wait for regular decision. And that's usually a bit later. For LMU, it's January 15th. So you have like 2 extra months to craft your application, to finish those first semester grades, and we can evaluate you based on your 9th through 11th grade grades, as well as your first semester. And then if you apply by January 15th, you'll be hearing back from LMU sometime in mid to late March. So it is a little bit of a shorter time that you have to review those decisions and to make that final choice. But it really is up to the student and to see when you want to apply. This is, again, a great time to reach out to the admission counselors, talk to them about your situation, and get their advice on when you should be applying, because it does vary student by student, like most things that I think I'll be answering today.
That is great. I also was a first generation college student who knew nothing about early action and early decision until one of my friends applied. So I love getting this information out for every student and to get everyone the information they need to be as successful as possible. Uh, I'm going to jump back in. So we know right now things are different for college applications. You may be hearing about schools that have gone test optional. What does that really mean? You maybe were a soccer player that wasn't able to play your sport in the spring or fall. Maybe you were part of the band or choir and you haven't been able to participate in that. So students have been asking us, what do you recommend that a student does to show their best self on a college application, especially in this time of COVID-19 when there's been so many changes to their traditional life?
Yeah, so in terms of test optional and those requirements, a lot of schools have gone test optional, LMU being one of them, which means that if you are able to take and access the SAT and ACT and you feel confident with your scores, you can definitely submit those as a data point for review. But if you weren't able to access the exam or you don't feel confident with your scores, you don't have to submit them. And for LMU specifically, you will still be considered for all of our available majors, all available merit-based aid. So it really is an optional system. There's no penalty, there's no benefit. It's just an additional data point that we'll use if we have it to evaluate you. But I would check in with every single college that you're applying to because they may have different requirements, different rules about their test optional system. So it really is good to check in with each and every college that you're applying to, just taking a quick look at their website, and usually they'll have that information on there. In terms of activities, when you're applying to different universities, you'll usually be asked to list the activities that you've participated in, from extracurricular, sports, leadership, service. We understand we're truly all living through this pandemic. All of our lives have changed. I'm working from home. So if I didn't have this background, you'd see like my blank home wall. So we understand that everybody's life has changed. And that means that if you were playing a sport, you're probably not playing that sport right now. And if you were in a club, maybe you're having virtual meetings, but maybe you're not. It really depends on the student. So just making a note of that, being very honest and forthright with the information is the best policy with anything that you're filling out on your application. So just letting us know, maybe you were involved in something from 9th through 11th grade and you felt like you couldn't do it online, so you didn't continue with that. You can just make a note of that. I was involved in soccer from 9th to 11th grade, but senior year COVID happened and I didn't feel confident or comfortable practicing in a group of people. And you can write that down, and that's not going to be anything that's going to negatively affect you, because again, we're all living through this pandemic and we understand that it's affected everybody in very different ways. Maybe you no longer have the time to work with different organizations and clubs because you're supporting your family members who are home and taking care of your siblings, doing things like that. Anything that's happened, you can just let us know, make a note, and admission counselors and the admission committee is not going to penalize you for any of that. Like, we truly understand that you are doing the best you can in this really difficult time.
That's so reassuring, and it's great to know. I also want to remind everyone, and if I'm correct, LMU is part of the Common App. So the Common App has also added a question this year asking about how COVID-19 has impacted you and your life. So that's another opportunity where you can be honest about what you've gone through or hardships that you face or the way that your life has changed in the current pandemic that we're all in together. And admissions officers read those and they will take those things into consideration when looking at your application. Speaking of admissions officers, we did get a question about what does an admissions officer look for in a good college essay?
Yeah, so I think speaking about that Common App COVID question, that's where you can let us know, again, everyone's being affected by this pandemic. How has the pandemic affected you? If it has in some sort of significant way, then definitely write that down. But for your essay, that's really our opportunity to get to know you. Most of the application is grades and basic information, your name, where you went to high school and things like that. This is where you can really show your personality. If you are funny and you want to include a joke in there, go ahead and do it. If you are a bit more serious and academic, definitely show that that as well. It is our one chance to really get to know you a little bit more as a person. So be really honest. I know that a lot of the advice that I've seen is like, talk about an obstacle that you've overcome. And if you have an obstacle that you've overcome and feel really proud of, definitely write about that. But everyone's life is so different. So maybe you haven't overcome a huge obstacle, but you've had lots of support in some ways. You can definitely write about that. So it really is very personal to every person. I just want to note that what we're looking for, we're not looking for this very high level writing. We know that you're high school students. We just want to see the effort that you've put forth, that we don't have any major typos that make it hard to read, that you organize paragraphs so that, again, it's easy to read. We go through like 30 to 50 applications per day at LMU, and you can imagine how much reading that is. And if it's a nicely organized paragraph and we can get through it and really make sense of what you're trying to say, that's only going to help your application. So just really tell a story that's personal to you, that really lets us know who you are. And again, no major typos, no major grammatical errors. As long as it's easy to read and clean, you will be totally fine. It's not something that you have to worry about or that you have to stress about, because we know that this whole process can be stressful and that we don't want to ever add to that. So as long as you are putting forth some effort, we will be able to see that. And we are appreciative of you and your writing and the time that you've spent on your application.
I also want to let everyone know who's on the call that if you head over to getschooled.com, we actually provide free college essay review. So it's really important, as Jocelyn's talking about, to avoid typos and grammatical errors, but also to tell a story. You want her and her team to kind of have some insight into who you are. And if you head over to getschooled.com, you can submit all of your college essays for review by our staff. And it is always a good idea to have a second set of eyes on a piece of your writing before you submit it. So we will review it for free and send it back to you with recommendations and feedback on how to make it even better. Jocelyn, do you have any other advice on how to make sure your essay is ready before they submit?
So I think when you're writing your essay, at least when I write, and I was an English major, so I did lots of writing, I would just kind of write everything down in one go and then leave it there for a little second, take a break, do something else, and then come back to it and review it. Because a lot of the times your first draft, and most of the time, and I hope that it isn't your last draft. So take some time to edit, to share with the Get Schooled people, to review it, because they're a great resource and they want you to succeed. I would also add that reading it out loud is a really great tip, because sometimes if you have a typo, you've included a word twice, you might not catch that if you're just scrolling and looking on your screen. But if you're reading it out loud, you may catch that. And it's not something that's going to disqualify you. It's not something that you're going to get denied admission for. But again, it just gives you a really great opportunity to put your best foot forward. So if you're able to catch these tiny mistakes that you could have avoided, then what better to do that? But I think you have a really great resource here that, again, I wish I would have had when I was applying to college. So it's really great.
Oh, definitely. So this is a pretty big question, and it's a hard one. And as you said earlier in our webinar, a lot of this is so personal. Picking a college is so personal. But if we talk to our students, they've applied, they've gotten their applications back, and now you have the big decision of deciding where to go. So how do you know if a school is a good fit for you?
Yeah, and I think, again, it is so personal to each student, but there are some things that I can share that I think will apply to most students. First, if you've been accepted, and they probably have the academic program that you're looking for. So that's like a check off your list. But also, I think when you have all of these choices, really think about how you'll fit in as a student there. Maybe take a quick look at all of these schools' websites and what clubs and student organizations they have. What student support services do they have? Do they offer free tutoring? Are you a first-generation college student? Do they have programming for you specifically? Are there any support systems that you need? Maybe you had an independent education plan and you'll need to continue that in college. So do they have those options for you? So definitely take a look at that. And another thing is that I would caution you to definitely think about it in a personal way. So don't think of what your friends will think of at the school. Don't think, I was just in a panel with students, and one of our students said, don't think of it for the clout. So don't think of it if it's like a really top ranked school. because that doesn't always mean that that's where you'll thrive and do your best. So just think about it in your personal way. So will you be able to be confident and really enjoy that location? Do you want to go to different panels? At LMU, we offer student panels where you can ask current students questions. So that's where I was just at. And one of the students asked, like, how do I decide on these colleges? And she just said, think about what you want to do, what the students at these schools are giving answers about. And right now, you may not know exactly what you want to do, what field you'll be going into. You may change your major while you're at school, and that's totally fine. Like, college is the time to do that, to do all of that exploring. But think of what the students at the schools that you're considering are doing after graduation. So go to their outcomes websites and see, are they employed after graduation? Are they going to graduate school after graduation? At LMU, we're really proud that 97% of our students are employed or in graduate school after 6 months of graduation. So that's just a really exciting statistic that just shows that LMU really prepares our students and really works with them to get them internship experiences and job experiences that really help them once they're graduates of that school. So it's a lot of research, and the research really doesn't stop once you've been accepted. It only continues, but this is a really big decision that you're going to make. And instead of feeling overwhelmed and stressed out by having too many options, like, that's a great problem to have lots of choices and lots of options. So just spend some time, do the research, so that when you make that decision, you feel really confident that you've already done the work to make that decision. It wasn't something that you like picked a name out of a hat or something. Really take the time to think about what those next at least 4 years will look like for you.
So no throwing a dart at a map.
Unfortunately not, unless you're okay with just taking your chances.
Oh, it is a really exciting time. I'm glad you brought that up. It can feel overwhelming, but having options and the excitement of life after high school graduation, it's such a great time, and a great time to connect with student Facebook groups from the universities you're interested in, attend panels like Joselyn's talking about, do virtual visits. I mean, there's so many options now, even in this digital world, where you can really learn what it's like to be a student at that school and become part of a community for the next 4 years. We got a question in our Q&A box that I think is really great, and it actually took me back to my junior year of high school. Can you talk about the benefits of taking college courses for credit, so dual enrollment, while you're still in high school?
Sure. So dual enrollment is great. And if you have that option and feel that it's a course that you're interested in, then you should definitely take advantage of it. So when you take a dual enrollment course, likely it'll be on your high school transcript. So you don't have to worry about getting that transcript sent over to the university that you're applying to, but you will be earning college credit. So it really depends on the university that you end up attending, how that will articulate over. But at the very least, you'll have like 3 or 4 college credits under your belt. So that can only help you when it comes to reaching maximums for minimums for high school, for college graduation. So at LMU, you have to reach a minimum of 120 credits for graduation. So let's say you already have 4 under your belt. So that can only help you. And if you take a couple of AP courses, that can also help with earning that college credit. So it really does come into play in that way. And also you're getting exposed to this higher level of learning. So you're already going to be prepared for these college level courses and start figuring out how to take notes if you're taking a college level course, what the exams look like. I didn't have midterms and finals at my high school. We just had like a regular just exams. We never called them midterms and finals. So being exposed to that in high school and taking those college level courses can only help you when it comes to making that transition over. That can be a little bit bumpy for students, but if you're already taking the steps to be prepared, then that's really great.
So we got another question in the chat. Again, this was something that was very important to me when I was applying to college. So one of our students wants to know, should the size of the classes at the college be something that I think about when I decide what college I want to go to?
This is such an exciting question. Absolutely. Yes. Please
Yes.
think of the size of classes that you're going into when you're deciding on what college to go to. I came from a pretty small high school. I had like 90 students in my graduating class, and most of my classes were like 25 to 30 students per class. And I love that environment. I love being able to raise my hand and be called on. But if you come from a larger high school, then maybe you're more used to being in larger classroom settings. But if you take a look at the websites and speak with admission counselors, you'll be able to know what an average class size is at each university that you're applying to. So at LMU, our average class size is 19. You'll never be in a lecture hall with like 300 students. I have friends who went to big public research universities who were in lecture halls with 300 students, and they use like clickers to raise their hand because the professor wouldn't see them. And if that's for you, then that's totally fine. Like if that's an environment that you will feel comfortable in, then that's great. But if you benefit from having smaller class sizes, if you feel more comfortable in just having a smaller class for discussion and base things like that, then you can definitely think about that. So 100% think of the class sizes when you're deciding on colleges, when you're even applying to them. Just remember that this distinction between a larger university that will have like hundreds of people in a lecture and a smaller university that will have just more small class sizes. And at LMU, we're a mid-sized university, so I'll plug that we are like the best of both worlds. So we do have lots of opportunities for research and things that you may find at a larger university, but we're also really lucky to have that smaller class size that I really enjoyed when I was a student.
I am biased because I actually went to a private university in the same conference as LMU, but I had a different experience. I went to a very large high school. We had 2,000 kids over only 3 years, and I really wanted something smaller and more personal. So I think that was a great question. It is something that I really looked into when I applied to college, and I think Jocelyn was the perfect person to answer that for everybody. We have another question. I was going to jump into our last question, but I think this ties in really well. Can you find application fee waivers for private schools, or is it only for public funded universities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in my experience, almost every university has a fee waiver. So whether they are a public research university or whether they are a small liberal arts college, anywhere that you're applying to, they probably have a fee waiver. We want students to apply. We want to see your applications. Like it's not something that we're hiding, that we're really exclusive about. Like you can't apply here. No, absolutely not. So if you reach out to any admission counselor, whatever email it is that you find on the website, just send them an email and say, hey, I'm interested in applying to your school. Do you have a fee waiver? And I'm going to say that 9 times out of 10, they will reply to you and say, yes, absolutely, here is the fee waiver. So I'm going to put LMU's fee waiver in the chat for you all so that you all apply to LMU. So please go ahead and just use that code when you're using the common application or the coalition application. Go ahead and type that in and you can apply to us for free.
So Go Lions in all caps is the application fee waiver for LMU. And again, applying to LMU now is free and it's not a commitment. So, check it out. It's a great option. Oh, we got a thank you. I have a couple questions around majors, and I'm just going to, now we're getting lots of questions and I love it. So the first question is, how would you do your college application if you want to double major?
Great question. So it really depends on the school that you're applying to. At LMU, we're a direct entry university, so you would be applying to one major specifically, but we're all about double majors, majoring and minoring. I have a student who works as a tour guide who does 3 majors at the same time, which is like overachiever. But if you are applying to LMU and you want to add a double major, that's totally fine. You would just apply to one specific major at the time of application, and during your second semester of your first year, you can declare your second major. So that way you get a feel for what your first semester of college is like, what the workload is like, and then you speak with your academic advisor to create a plan so that you can graduate within 4 years and still earn those 2 degrees at the same time. But that may be different at different universities. So I would just double check with them to see what their requirements are if you have to declare both of those majors at the same time. But I think that my gut check is that for most schools, you would be applying to one major to start with, and then you can add on a second one if you're interested.
Yeah, that's great advice because that's exactly what I did. And there's another question that I think is very similar. Is it safe to choose undecided as a major? A lot of students applying to college right now, you're young. There's so many options out there for your future. So can you apply and then decide later?
Yeah, absolutely. So at LMU specifically, we have a couple of undecided options. So we have undecided liberal arts, undecided sciences, undecided engineering, undecided business. So you can definitely apply to any of those. I think most schools, if you do your research, will have some sort of undecided option because, like you mentioned, you're very young. You may not know what you're interested in. If you're anything like me, I was interested in everything under the sun within an English major. I thought I would be like a teacher, a journalist, a PR assistant, all of these different things. And I'm an admission counselor, so it really does change during your time in college. But so go ahead and apply undecided. If you have a general inkling of what you want to do, maybe you can specialize. So at LMU, if you're interested maybe in business, but you're not sure what in business, we offer 6 majors. Maybe you're looking at marketing and you think that looks really cool, but you're also interested in finance, you're also interested in entrepreneurship, go ahead and apply for that undecided business option because then you can take a couple courses, see what interests you the most, and then you can declare your major later on. Most students will take at least 1 year, maybe a year and a half to do some exploring, and then they'll declare their major, and you can still graduate within 4 years. Like there's no shame in being undeclared. It just opens up your options while you're still in college.
That is great advice. Yeah, from my own experience, I started a certain major and then kind of started to explore some other things freshman and sophomore year and ended up adding a major sophomore year. So you can always double major later. You can change your major. You can decide there's so many options. And one thing we haven't even talked about yet is minors. So do you want to talk at all about the difference between a major and a minor and the benefits of that?
Sure. So the main difference between a major and a minor is how many courses you're taking and how many units you'll end up accumulating in that specific subject. So while you may be taking, I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say you're taking like 36 units to have your major, maybe you're taking 12 to have a minor, and you're still able to take courses in that field that you're interested in, and it'll be on your degree to let everybody know that you earned this minor, and you'll just become like an expert in that field as well without taking as many courses as you would have with a major. So I have students who take on 2 majors and 1 minor, or who take on 1 major and a minor. So if you're interested in a field, but you don't think that you are as committed to it to take the exact number of courses to earn a major, then exploring a minor is a really great option. And it also opens up, so you just earn more skills. All of these classes that you're taking are just going to sharpen up your toolbox and give you more skills. So maybe you're interested in a language. I was an English major. I took a couple courses in Spanish. I think I needed 1 more course to earn that minor. So I feel like I should have done that and earned that minor. But it just allows you to take courses in something that you're interested in. And if you earn a minor, then what could be better? But again, if you just speak with your academic advisor, talk to them about the things that you're thinking about, and they'll be able to guide you and to let you know, like, you're already taking 3 courses, just add on 1 more and you'll already have that minor. So it's really easy to do. And it's, again, something that you're passionate about. Something that I really love about college and college courses is that you're taking things that you're interested in. It's not something that you're like forced to do at any point. It's something that you want to do and to explore.
I'm so excited I'm still muted. This is really great advice that just blows my mind, something that we never got when we were applying to college. And it's so helpful. I do want to remind everyone before we go into the last question that even after this session, if you have more questions about college or applying to college, you can always text the Get Schooled team at 335577. Just text college to 335577, and we are here. We are not limited to this session. We are here to help you and to help you succeed in every step of the college going process. So our last question is a little bit, so imagine a student's applied to all their colleges, they have their admissions and they kind of know what a good fit is for them, But can you talk a little bit about the difference between a school's sticker price, so maybe what you see on the website as the cost of attendance, and the actual cost of going to that school?
Absolutely. So the cost of attendance that you'll see on schools' websites a lot of the time will include things like tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, transportation, fees, and things like that. So it can oftentimes be a really scary number. I'm a first generation college student. When I saw all of these numbers, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be going to college then, because I definitely don't have that amount of money. But please don't let that discourage you. Like, there's so many options for financial aid and to really make education affordable for you. When thinking of cost of attendance, definitely the tuition and fees are something that is pretty unmovable. Like, that's what it's going to be for most students. It really does depend on how many units you're taking, but on average, the tuition and fees that you're seeing on the website will probably be similar to what you'll be charged. And then there's room and board. So are you living on campus? That's something to take account of. Maybe you're commuting, so you'll be saving that expense. Maybe you are living on campus, so think of that expense and how you'll be covering that. And then in terms of like books and supplies and personal expenses, that is so personal to you. A lot of professors are making things more accessible by having online books and things that you can access online for free. There may be some book fees that you have to pay, and maybe you have to buy a book. I would always suggest renting your books. If you're not looking to become an expert in that field, then you'll have to reference that later. Renting is totally a great option. But then also think about the ways that you will find funding. So have you gotten your financial aid package from this school? Are they giving you some merit-based aid? Have you submitted your FAFSA? And if you're a senior, I hope you have, because that opened up on October 1st. So at LMU, financial aid works in two ways. We have our merit-based scholarships, and then we have the FAFSA information. So all admitted students are considered for merit-based scholarships. That is based solely on your merit. So there's no financial consideration given there. So if you think about your academics, about your after-school activities, about your leadership, your essays, your letters of recommendation, test scores if you choose to submit them. If not, then that's totally fine. So that's one part of the equation. And then the second part is the federal financial aid part, where you submit your FAFSA, and based on that, we see what your need is and how we can accommodate to that. So putting those two together, we give you a financial aid package and make LMU as affordable as we can for you. There's different schools that meet full needs. So if they do that, then they will support you with whatever your need is based on your federal financial aid, and they will give you that amount. So just make sure that you're looking at all of the schools' financial aid packages that they've given you, how they're going to be supporting you. If you have to take out any loans, make a note of that and see what those rates would be. And if you are just being given like a full ride, then that's amazing as well. So just definitely take a look at each school that you're taking a look at, what they're offering you in terms of financial aid. And I will make note that you can always appeal for merit-based aid, at least at LMU. That's something that I didn't know when I was going into this, that you can appeal if you are being given a scholarship that's generous, but you feel like you need a little bit more to make it happen so that your family is not under financial strain. Let us know. Write a letter to the admission office and let them know that you are really interested in the school, but you need some additional funding to make it work. And they will take that into consideration. And if there are any additional funds to give, they will give them to you. It really is, we want to make this work for you. We want you to go to college, and wherever it is that you're applying to, please do reach out to them and let them know what you're thinking, what you need, and if they can help you, they will.
Also in the chat, we just shared this great campaign that's going on right now. So any seniors on this call, if you head over to TikTok, if you have a TikTok, and follow Get Schooled, you can show us your hashtag FAFSA Dance, and we will pick winners for $100 per winner to help pay for your college applications. College applications add up really fast, we know, and if you don't qualify for a fee waiver, this is a really great way to get a free college application. On top of the FAFSA Dance campaign, filling out the FAFSA early, as Joselyn said, it opened October 1st, is always a great way to increase your chances of more financial aid. Many states are first come, first serve. And so the sooner you come, the more likely you are that there's still a larger pot of money to support you. And you may look at a school and see that sticker price and think, oh, this is too expensive, but we promise that if you work at it, it can be affordable and you can attend. I want to thank Joselyn so much for such great information for our students. And I just wanted to see if you had any closing thoughts before we wrap up today.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed the questions, and you all had really great questions in the Q&A as well. So I think you're already doing such great work by being on this call. I know that there's lots of things online right now, so tuning into one more thing can seem really difficult and really annoying, but you're doing the work, like you've already started it. So I'm really proud of you for that step. Just reach out, ask questions. I know that, like I've mentioned a couple times, I was a first generation college student. I only say that because I know, like, I've been through this and it was really difficult for me. And I felt like a sort of pride, like I wanted to do everything by myself. And I just made it really hard on myself. I just caused myself lots of extra stress that I could have avoided by reaching out and asking questions. You have this great resource in Get Schooled that you can reach out to for questions. You have me now. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about LMU, about any school in general. Like, I'm happy to just point you in the right direction. I want you all to go to college. You guys are all going to have such bright futures. I know that it's a really difficult time right now for all of us, but it will end and we'll get through it, and you'll be at college really soon and it'll be really fun. So I'm really grateful for your time, and I hope that you do stay in touch and reach out to me with any questions.
Oh, that was just that makes my heart so happy, because I had so much fun in college, and I agree, like, and to have a resource like an admissions counselor from a school by all of you is just so amazing. So I thank you. Thank you so much for your time and like this amazing expertise. I am going to turn it over to Jackie, my coworker at Get Schooled, who will be announcing our Visa gift card winners. But before I do that, I want to make sure that everyone knows next Wednesday, November 4th at 4 p.m., we'll be doing a similar Get Schooled after school on scholarships. So tips for where to find scholarships and how to apply for them. So again, fill out that FAFSA. There are some scholarships that are tied to your FAFSA completion, and join us next week to learn more about scholarships and how to get as many as possible to help you pay for school. Jackie?
All right, everyone. Congratulations to our two $50 Visa gift card winners today, David Villasenor and also Kennedy Sifion. I will be in contact with each of you tomorrow to let you know how you can get that gift card. And for everyone on today's webinar, I'm getting ready to drop the link to all of the resources that were shared in today's webinar. But of course, please come back to the getschooled.com website if you want to pull that along with the recording of today's webinar. That'll be available for everyone tomorrow. But again, in the chat now, if you click on that link, it's going to have a whole bunch of resources that we talked about today for your essay review, all of the great information that Joselyn shared about LMU, along with that code to get that free fee waiver. Go Lions. So please use that right now. Holler at Get Schooled if you need anything. Text us at 335-577. We are here for you. So again, I'll kick it back over to Danielle. But again, congrats to our gift card winners. I'll be in contact with you tomorrow.
Thank you. So thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up. If there's any final questions, feel free to email our lovely admissions counselor. That is such a big offer, everyone. Like, I hope you know how amazing it is to have that contact in your back pocket. And then at any time, text 335-577, and our team at Get Schooled is here to help you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys all next week.